in order to answer these two questions down here, I need to first graph both of these. So I'm going to first graph this one. I need my midline, my amplitude, and my period in order to graph this. So my midline is always this vertical shift. So you notice the graph is shifting up 4. So you should know your midline is y equals 4. And then you go over here and you put a midline of y equals 4. And then your amplitude. You should know by now that the top that number right there is your amplitude. If it was negative, you'd flip it. This one's not negative. So your amplitude is 3. And then for a cosine graph, the number inside this multiplied by x affects your period. The normal period of a cosine graph is 2 pi. But then we divide by 1/2 because the number is 1/2 times x. So when you take 2 pi divided by 1/2, that's a little tough for a lot of people. But what you should realize is that becomes 4 pi. So your period is actually 4 pi. Now, we're going to now graph this and graph this. We now have the same type of information for both of these to graph them. We do not need to make any alterations in this for graphing. In order to graph these two, again, cosine, hopefully you remember that a cosine graph kind of looks like this, like a C. Kind of looks like a C, where a sine graph down here looks like this. That will help you know how to graph this because you should know the basic look of each graph. Cosines look like C's, sines look like kind of a weird looking S sideways. But let's graph this one. We already got the midline right there. Amplitude, let's hold off on that. 4 pi. Wait, 4 pi. Why did I put 2 pi here? Do you see down here? See how 0 to 2 pi? That's why I chose 2 pi. You could have chose 4 pi to start with. I didn't. But if I have a period of 4 pi, aren't we going to do half of it in 2 pi? Yeah. So look at this graph. If the graph looks like this, aren't we just going to do half the graph? So watch this. Aren't we going to do a graph that looks just like that? Aren't we just going to do that part of the graph? So can you make a graph that looks like that? Why don't you make a graph that kind of looks like that through there? But in order to make a graph that has this look, don't we first have to find the height, the maximum here, and then work our way down to the minimum here? And won't the amplitude give me my max and min? So how high would my maximum up here be and my minimum down here be? Well, doesn't the amplitude tell us that? Aren't we going to go from here up 3? Won't that give me my maximum? And over here, aren't you going to hit right in the middle? Right in the middle, you're going to hit. So you're going to go like this, and then it goes down 3. What's 3 down from 4? If you went up 3 here, you're going to go down 3 here. So you should notice that would be about 1. And you can hopefully see the graph. Do you see how it looks like half of a cosine graph there? Because in a 4 pi period, you'd have the whole thing, but we're only doing half of it. Now, to graph this one, it looks like this. The pi is the period, amplitude 4, and that's your midline. So let's do that midline real quick. 2 is your midline. It's always good to start it like that. And I know it looks like this. And I know pi is one interval. So watch carefully. If pi is one interval, well, I know sine looks like this. You should know that sine will have a look that looks like that. See this graph right here? It goes up and back down. So I know it's going to go up and back down. Now, how high is this graph going to go and low? Isn't that the amplitude? Doesn't the amplitude tell us how high we're going to go on this graph? So right here in the middle, aren't we going to go 4 up? So wouldn't that be up to 6? To go 4 up, we're going to be up to right there. 4 up. The amplitude from the midline is 4. And then we're also, right here, going to go 4 down. So right here, you would be 4 down. So now we're right there. That is one interval. Sorry, shouldn't have done that. All right, you guys, that is one interval, one cycle of my sine graph. Because my period is pi. Centered around y equals 2 with an amplitude of 4. Can you now repeat that for the second interval? Yeah. There's the center. There's the end. I'm going to go up 4 and down 4. I now have graphed both functions. The blue one is g of x. The red one is f of x. Now that I have the graphs, which function has more zeros from 0 to 2 pi? So this is 2 pi. Well, which one crosses the x-axis the most is what that's saying. I think the blue. The red doesn't even cross. So which has more zeros? That has 1, 2, 3, 4. That has 0 zeros. So I would say g of x has the most zeros. Now the second question is, which has the largest relative maximum? Relative maximum is the highest point. So basically, which graph went the highest is what this is saying. And if you look at this, well, this one has a max of 6. That one has a max of 7. So can you tell that f of x has the higher value? Now be aware, I could also ask which has the minimum. Which one has the lowest value, the lowest minimum? This one would be g, because g is down here. So if I said minimum, you're talking g. But maximum, it would be the red. So make sure you be careful of that. What if I said which has the least zeros? Well, the least zeros would have been f of x.